Welcome to our BYOG party. If you've been here before, welcome back. And if not, welcome. And hopefully, you know, somebody asked me, what does BYOG stand for? I try to make it very well known. It's Be Your Own Guarantee. And, you know, as I was promoting this party, especially with Pamela Nygaard. I mean, when I first talked to Pamela a couple months ago, she was, connected to me by another friend of mine, another BYOG expert, Joe Staffaker, because they know each other. And she told me, you got to talk to Pamela. You got to bring her on one of these parties. And I'm going to let her explain it. And she's going to explain a lot of what this technology that she's created, because it blew my mind when I saw it. And when she presented it to me, and as she was doing it, about 5 minutes into it, I'm like, all right, when can we schedule this party? Because I need my community to know it, because this is the coup de grace of being your own guarantee for your health and your health care. So without me talking anymore or until I want to have Pamela come on and just explain her background, where she came up with, even before she created this, what she did in the insurance world to help her have a unique perspective on how to help people be their own guarantee for their health and their life. So Pamela, welcome. I can't thank you enough for being on.
My pleasure. I'm so excited to be here. I know I am amongst great company, because you're absolutely right. I'm all about empowering the individual to advocate, control, and understand your own health. And everything that I do is to that regard. I want to make it accessible, both financially and from an education perspective. Because you know what? I believe that humans are not stupid. And I know that sounds like an obvious statement, but I feel like when it comes to our health, we're being treated like we're idiots, right? Like we can't possibly know, and that you have to someone that at least 15 years worth of education in order to understand or explain it to you, when in actuality, they don't have the time, they don't have the wherewithal. So my whole goal was just to make things accessible. And really that came to be two different paths. First of all, I used to be a financial planner, and then I wound up working for the big bad insurance companies. And I say the big bad because they're always the villain. And frankly, it's with good reason. So I was a business manager inside of both United Healthcare and Cigna and some of the companies that they wound up merging or buying out at the time. I was part of a lot of the big mergers and acquisitions. But as a business manager, I was responsible for creating the health plans, putting a price tag on someone's head, which by far was the worst part of my job, and rolling it out to employees, managing the team that would do the dental and the vision, the life insurance, all the pieces. But there was actually an element too where I would train, and actually it was a big part of my job, to train other brokers how to help employers go self-funding. And I've been in the industry for over 2 decades. So my background spans to about 20, 25 years of being in the industry and being around these insurance and financial planning tools. And so this was actually back in the day when only major corporations were self-funded and everyone else had to be kind of fully insured or just put in a big old pool. And part of that was, well, the big old pool was really beneficial for the insurance companies, but not for the employers. So I would train company owners and HR directors and brokers how to go self-funded, because there's so much power in it. And the number one thing I teach about that is know where your money is going. That's the bottom line. That's what self-funding really does, is you figure out where the dollars go. And so there were times when I'll give a great example of this. I had an employer that only had about 40 or 50 employees, so relatively small to even consider self-funding. I took them into kind of a hybrid plan. So there was lots of comfort levels, lots of stop gaps, and brought them in because they had been receiving 30 to 45% rate increases for the last 4 years in a row. And they were just financially almost about to go bankrupt. And this is it was a fire station. And so you can just imagine, like, these are good, hardworking people that are completely necessary in the community and probably are pretty healthy, right? I mean, you're not going to have a firefighter show up at your house and be, in a wheelchair or be, somehow disabled. And so I thought, this doesn't make a lot of sense. So I took them into the partially self-funded world just so we could find out where their dollars were going. And after about 6 holdings report that just says, what's driving up cost. And I went, ding, 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 we have your solution. So I called up the director over there and I said, hey, I have good news and bad news. I said, the good news is you are never going to get a high rate increase again. We got to the bottom of the problem. The bad news is you have 6 drug dealers on staff. And what was going on is they had 6 employees, like clockwork, that were getting a refill of oxycodone, hydrocodone, all the and some opioids, and that were clearly selling it out the back door. And so you get high cost drugs from multiple people dinging at the first of the month, every single month. And they were just a little side hustle going on at the employer's expense. And so the HR person got to the bottom of it. We made a little adjustment to the healthcare plan, stopped up, frankly. As far as I know, no one actually got fired, but pretty sure they probably should have. But it was a good group of folks. They stopped the drug dealing, and that employer got a $15,000 refund back in their bank account that year, and they got no more than a 7% rate increase the following year. So problem solved, completely fixed. It was all about figuring where their money goes. And so that was, I mean, a great big win, but that's a lot of things that I would do in the health insurance industry. And there, on the flip side, you would just, trying to get to the bottom of things. But ultimately, I would say my big turning point in healthcare was sometimes we would ask people their individual health statements. We would ask them to say, have you been treated for diagnosed with cancer, heart disease, lymphoma, end-stage renal failure anytime in the last 5 years? It's just kind of a list of health questions. And they could just check yes and move on, but they were supposed to say, well, what was it? Because sometimes someone would check the box yes, and oftentimes I would try to get to the bottom of it quickly. And they would say, oh, I had a mole removed 3 years ago. It was benign, no big deal. So we're like, okay, not cancer, not relevant, no big deal. But there were a couple conversations that I remember having, and it was someone in particular who had been diagnosed with a digestive issue like Crohn's disease and IBS and whatnot. And so I called them up and said, okay, because these can be pretty expensive cases sometimes. And by the way, the insurance company knows exactly how much money you're going to cost them with just a diagnosis code. So let me just be really upfront. And not only that, I know how much someone will cost between the time that the diagnosis was, say, like all the way to life. We know exactly how much that costs. And said a different way, we know how much money that's worth to a pharmaceutical or to the insurance company themselves. So like I said, it was not a warm, fuzzy kind of job. It was not what I had planned to do with my life. But so when I called up this gal and I said, well, tell me about your issues, your medications, your surgeries. And she was like, oh, no. I went and I found a different doctor. It was like a naturopath or integrative medicine doctor. I did a little bit of hyperbaric oxygen chamber therapy, like a couple visits of that. And like, I have no symptoms, no issues whatsoever. Figured out what food was triggering it. Like, I'm totally fine. And I went, wow, well, I don't hear that every day. That conversation kind of got me thinking. It got me digging a little bit deeper. And then I wound up going back to, I called up my mom. I think it was later that day or that week. I said, Mom, let's talk a little bit about grandma, because this was really kind of my big aha moment. And that was when I was 14 years old, my grandmother was sent home to die. I mean, the doctors, they had done everything they possibly could. She'd gone through so many surgeries and was on quite a bit of medications. And they just said, there's nothing else we can do. It's time to start your goodbyes. Well, I mean, we were all devastated. My grandfather, my uncle, my dad, nobody was ready to let her go. And we started calling around, like, what can we do? What are the possibilities? Is there anything else that we can do? And it was just a friend of a friend of a friend said, you know what? My wife had the exact same experience, and we went down to Tijuana, Mexico for treatment. Now, come on. Back in this was early 90s. Nobody went to Tijuana, Mexico for medical treatment. That is not the destination that you think of. Right at the time, you didn't really go to Tijuana, Mexico for anything, much less healthcare, but it was a last resort. So my grandfather and grandmother went from Denver, Colorado down to Tijuana, Mexico for 1 week. They did a treatment and they came back. And I am delighted to tell you that my grandmother lived 15 more years, no drugs, no surgery. And as a child, I have no memories of her. She was sleeping 22 to 23 hours a day. When she was awake and would come out and join us, she just had no life force, no volume, not much to add to a conversation. After that treatment, boy, we'd go for walks. We would walk around the golf course because they moved to Phoenix and all of a sudden started living life. We'd make cookies. I mean, just all these things that I have no memory of. As she aged, she got more vibrant and more lively. And I said, okay, what does Tijuana, Mexico know that America, the whole of America, doesn't seem to know? And if Tijuana knows this, what about Europe? What about India? What about China? What about all the other continents, what are they doing for healthcare that maybe America just doesn't know about yet? And that is what started my whole search. I had created something that was kind of the WebMD, but for everything outside of Western medicine. So it was just a really extensive search engine that said, if you don't want to take a medication or surgery, what are all the other things you could do? And it was, let's talk about herbs and Ayurvedic and spiritual and, neural things. It was like everything outside of the Western medicine approach. And then I had the opportunity to meet some incredible physicians, and they had created a tool, was literally built by doctors for doctors, that involved textbooks and medical journals just to help a physician get to the scientific root cause fastest. So that then as a physician, their time could be spent creating like the art and science of medicine. And so that's really what Genexy came to be and how that was. If you don't mind, I'll share a couple screens just to add some visuals to this. And then if we have some time, I'll do a little demo that talks about how it all comes together.
Yes, do that. And while you're getting that set up, if anybody has questions who's on the live call here, put them in the chat and hopefully we'll get to them. Not hopefully, we will get to them if we're able to answer those. There's a couple things, you said the line, there's nothing we can do. That I think so many of us have heard that with maybe your situation, for the people on this call or people that your loved ones, or there's nothing else we can do. That I hear that line a lot from medicine. And I want to say, again, as a general term, medicine, hospitals, the general Western medicine, but there are things you can do. And this is one of those things, just like how your grandma and you found treatment in Tijuana. Yeah. That's kind of the frustrating part. And another thing that led me to is this point of, I was listening to this, I listen to a lot of sports talk radio, and they're talking about quarterbacks and how fast they can heal. Like Aaron Rodgers tearing his Achilles.
Yeah.
And he's not going to put it past him to come back in less time than other things because he's inquisitive. He'll turn over every rock to find something that can help him heal faster. And the thing that hit home with me is like, you talk to sports medicine over in Europe, like soccer trainers over in Europe, and they look at our sports medicine methods and strategies over here in America, and they're like, what are you guys doing? Because it's full of, anti-inflammatory drugs. And again, those have been proven to actually thwart and hurt the healing process. Anyway, so whenever I hear, okay, our nutrition is so much better now, our training methods are so much better now, that's why we can get bigger, faster, stronger. But I'm like, but we're getting hurt more and more and more and getting less healthy. So I just wanted to throw that in there too.
I agree. The soft tissue damage and all the other things that are going along with it. And you're right. I find it fascinating. We do everything we can, the sports, heroes, if you will. And yet the average person is sort of left out there to dry. And yet, honestly, I tore my knee, like all 3 out of the 4 ligaments in a skiing accident last year. And I decided, I was like, well, I'm going to put what I talk about to the test. And I wound up doing a stem cell treatment for it. Literally, I think I was down for 48 hours. So there was no surgery time. There was no laying on the couch for several weeks. I did physical therapy and was back up and running again. Scars, no issues. And I think about the alternative, like what most people do. And honestly, 100%, I know that the route that I took with the regenerative therapy, if you will, and the stem cells, that it was from my own body, significantly less expensive than the surgery would have been. Yep. So, the way the Western medicine system works, I don't quite get it, but yeah, it's very powerful, the options that we do have. And I'm just excited to be one of those voices out here that says, hey guys, you have so many options. I will bring them to you. I will talk about them. I've got physicians here in America that can do some really cool things. And if something ever happens, find out all your options first. You've got to be your best advocate. You need to be your own guarantee. And I am just here to help you find them. And I am thrilled to be connected with the type of physicians that I get to talk with on a daily basis. I feel like such a moron sitting in the room, let me tell you, because these doctors are brilliant in the things that they're doing. But that's what I want to do, is be that resource for people to understand, regardless of what your issue is, you've got some choices, and make good choices and figure out what's best for you.
Cool. Yes. Go ahead. Can you share your screen, right? You're able to?
Actually, it's so funny. I'm looking at it, but I can't get back to Zoom at the moment. So let me figure out how to get back to Zoom. I know, right? It's crazy. I'm had it big here, and then Zoom vanished on me. That's fine.
No problem.
Yeah.
We're good. It's a party. There's going to be
Right? It's a party. Yeah,
yeah,
it's so funny. I
it's
thought about
live. It's
bringing
a party. Yeah.
balloons.
All right. There we go.
Cool. Let me get this full screen. Genexy Health is really what I'm here to talk about primarily, but I'll just throw it there. I've got all sorts of great solutions when it comes to healthcare, health insurance, and things that are much less expensive. That's what I specialize in. That's what I help people to do. So basically, I'm a financial planner who understands bottom line drivers. Used to be in the insurance companies. We already talked about that. Let's move on to the more interesting stuff. Really, my goal is to globalize healthcare and to help people get all the solutions that they should have access to. So, we know consumer-directed healthcare came along in the early 2000s, but the consumer tools are way too slow. I mean, just trying to get pricing public has been like pulling teeth. It's literally been 23 years in the making, and hospitals are publicly denying the law that is making them put their prices public. They're like, nope, we'll pay the penalty rather than make our pricing public. So big issue there. Healthcare costs and increases have outpaced inflation for years. There are over 40 new medical studies published every day. So, I mean, I love physicians and doctors. I get to work with them all the time, but there's just too much to stay up with. There's too much to stay on top of. It's just become very, very arduous, and figuring out which one is relevant for your patients is even more challenging. And then have a work-life balance. Now we know that there's also a shortage of physicians, which is now causing patients to wait for the care that they need. I think the last I heard is that a specialist has something like a 63-day waiting period. So if something major comes up, you still have several months to try to get in with a specialist. So that's obviously a problem. Employers are struggling under the weight of the cost of health insurance, and yet so are employees, because I think consumer-directed healthcare was just a really kind of a fancy name to cost shift. So that, I remember the days when deductibles were $100 and copays were $10. Like, I personally remember those days. Now, the fact that I think the average deductible, it's somewhere above $3,000. And the fact that I deal with people that have an $8,500 deductible and nothing is paid until that deductible is met, like, we're in a whole different world. So my whole goal was just to create a tool that helps provide that personalized medicine, but not at an exorbitant, ridiculous amount. We know that personalized medicine is the future, but unfortunately, whenever you get something that's very particular and personalized, tailored, it tends to be more expensive. There are a couple of very famous companies that have come out that use the personalized medicine approach, and their costs start at $25,000 per person. Now, to some, that might not be too much. My whole thought was, well, if you don't have a major health crisis or a really good motivation that you need to spend $25,000 to $30,000 to get back on track, what about those that just go, I'm just super tired, or I'm really achy, or my stomach is upset and bloated a lot of the time? How do we help them get to the root cause? That's really my goal. So if individuals could find that relevant medical study and get an accurate treatment plan that's scientifically based, that to me is what the ultimate goal was. We are not about diagnosis. If from my perspective, I'm like, figuring out what to call something to me is less important than figuring out how to fix it. So 100% my goal is root cause. What is the cause, and fix the cause? It's kind of like Simon Sinek. I love him. When he came out with that book years ago that was, at the why, our whole goal is find the why to what's really causing the health issues. So instead of prescribing lab created chemicals or pharmaceuticals, our goal is nature, rebalance, and address that root cause. So the ways that we do that is we use technology for good. I know AI sometimes can get a bad name. I like to joke that we use AI light, because there's some forms of it we don't allow the technology to think for itself. We use AI in that we have taken medical textbooks, 40,000 published, peer-reviewed, scientifically accurate medical studies. And by the way, there's a reason why I put that many disclaimers on it. You wouldn't believe some of the medical studies out there that have like 19 people in it. And to me, that's not credible. That's not scientifically accurate. We don't use those. We have over 400 blood markers. So if someone goes to have a blood test done, our tool can analyze and understand the ranges of where those blood markers should be. And by the way, we look at not the here's average range or here's where it should be, because those are typically built for age 18 to 80, male or female. Our tool looks at what is your optimal blood range, because I want you to have optimum health, not average, and not, well, you're not outside of the norm yet, so let's not do anything about it. No, no, no. We're all about optimizing your health, making you in tip-top shape before anything becomes an issue. And let me tell you, you're going to live a lot longer and feel a lot better because of it. We also have over 400 DNA SNPs, single nucleotide. Oh man, I always mess that up. Anyway, SNPs, for those of you who are in the DNA world, you can laugh at me. I always struggle with the whole saying that out. But anyway, we have 400 of them loaded in the system, to the point that we will literally say, okay, if this DNA SNP is turned on and is activated and it is negatively impacting your health, here are the things that you can do to either reverse it or retract it. You know, some DNA SNPs throughout our lifetime get triggered and turned on in a negative way, and they can be turned back off again. And I feel like sometimes in Western medicine, that's not always talked about. You can just turn that negative activity back off again, or you can supplement and get it so that it no longer negatively impacts the body. So that's our goal. We also spent millions of dollars to put in classifications of drugs. The reason why we do this is because we know that over 2/3 of the population in America uses a medication right now, at least one. The average is about 3.5 to 4 medications every day. And we know that those are causing side effects and other issues. Sometimes they fight with each other. More than that, chances of medication, is depleting something in the body. And that's how it's activating, or what its mechanism is. We know if we can supplement and head that off, your body will function better and that medication will work better for longer. So that's our goal. Hang on one second. In fact, I should say, hey, it's a party. Everyone take a drink right now. Hopefully y'all have your water handy. Another thing that we do is we put air and water toxins specific by zip code. What does that mean? We know that if your zip code is near a power plant that is off-gassing some dangerous gases, could be impacting your body if you're not methylating and clearing that out well. We know that if you're drinking unfiltered water or you don't have a filter on your shower, then perhaps arsenic or lead, cadmium, things are getting into your body through the water source. So we put that in there as well to really get that tailored, very personalized approach. And then lastly, we have nationalities and genetic predispositions loaded in there, because we just know that certain nationalities have a predisposition for certain things. An African American, for example, probably needs a higher dose of vitamin D than an average Caucasian living in the exact same zip code. We know that an Asian American doesn't digest and do as well with soy, which is fascinating because they typically have a diet that's higher in soy, but in America they don't digest it and they don't do as well with it, so it triggers some autoimmune or some other issues. So all of that is built into the tool. We know that's already the case, and we put it into a tool that was built by doctors for other doctors until I came along. And I said, no. I'm making this available to every single person. It's about time we hold a hand, right? I mean, this little phone is in our hand all the time. Why don't we have tools that help us understand our own body and translate what's going on? I actually went to school for pre-med, for nursing. I wanted to go be, in the medical field. I also have a coaching and nutrition coaching background and certificate. And I tell you, fascinating little things like if you crave chocolate, you're probably low on magnesium. What a simple little thing. But most people don't realize that. They're just going into the pantry every night, grabbing some chocolate and grabbing the candy bars. And hey, you know what? If you're probably also dealing with some Charlie horses, maybe some heart palpitations or whatnot. Like those are the ongoing issues that if you don't give the body what it needs. So Genexy is just meant to be a tool to translate what is our body really saying to us. The way that we do that is just a simple 15-minute assessment that, be as honest as you want. It's not connected to any insurance company and never will be. Thank you very much. The information does not go back to an employer. It is yours and yours alone. We do an assessment. You can put in any blood work that you currently have, or if you'd like to do a wellness blood draw, ours is the best price and the most full blood test that on the market. And I built this blood test with the help of a team of doctors. We look at magnesium, phosphorus. We look at insulin levels, your inflammation markers like GGT. I don't know why doctors don't use that more. It's an amazing blood marker. We look at vitamin D levels, all that's in there. You have an option to order it. We have two options, $150 or $200. Blood test is amazing. These have been priced out between $650 and $800. Again, will help to be accessible and not super expensive. We also have genomics tests. So if you're curious about it, you can upload a 23andMe report. However, we also partner with a couple other companies that are phenomenal, really cutting edge, and can actually help turn on and turn off those genes that you want functioning properly. I mentioned the medications and then also your environmental toxins. We put all this in and spit back out a 5-page report. And we're actually breaking it into multiple reports because we find that most people are not used to getting this much information this quickly. So we're kind of starting to piece it out a little bit. So it's bite-sized pieces. We'll tell you which toxins are present and most likely impacting you. We'll tell you how to detox. If there's an herbal supplement or a nutritional supplement that would be really helpful, we'll tell you what it is. We have medicinal quality supplements if you want to purchase them at a discount. And partly that reason is I don't encourage people to just go down to Walmart or GNC and buy something off the shelf, because if they're not high quality, you don't get great results. You think the recommendation is bad rather than the supplement. So there's my little caveat that not all supplements are made the same and not all of them are what they say they are in the bottle. So just be a little careful on that. And then we'll also make lifestyle and dietary adjustment recommendations for you as well that you can either implement yourself or go talk to your doctor about. So we're just all about, I say disrupting the healthcare world, but really I'm just about empowering that individual. We joke that it's like Big Hero 5 and House and all these, Spock and all these great doctors on TV. We're finally making it accessible and real and having a little fun with it while we do that. We've helped school districts flatline their costs and have a great health plan. We've helped brokers really help employers. Really, ultimately, we help people stave off disease and reduce brain fog, get rid of the fatigue. And we get letters all the time. We're like, I got my life back. I thought I was just getting old, but in fact, I got my life back. It was as simple as a nutrient deficiency. And I know most other people on the line are probably like, yeah, we're enlightened. We know I'm probably preaching to the choir right now. But the biggest feedback we get is usually the fatigue. And I call it that palpable fatigue, where you get up in the morning and you just feel like someone's sitting on your shoulders and you can hardly think straight. And you might be sipping caffeine and you're still falling asleep. And we find that it's usually one of three things. It's very often, it might be vitamin B12, it could be an iron deficiency, or it might be vitamin D. And that's just a little tiny layer, one fruit to helping somebody get past that and move on to really energetic, great lifestyle. So we want to create a movement that helps empower individuals to control their health and move away from just random Google searches, because we know that those answers are based on the highest bidder. So not scientifically accurate. Might be either someone trying to sell a product, sell a widget, sell a pill. We just move away from all that. We have no pills that we want to sell. We literally are just here to get the information, empower the individual, and help them have it in the palm of their hand when they really need it the most. And that's ultimately what our goal is. Inside of the tool, obviously, we've already talked about zip code, but kind of one really fun thing is we have smart answers. And this is if as someone's going through the assessment, they click yes to like, have you ever been diagnosed with diabetes or heart disease or like that, a little pop-up will come up and it'll say, well, let's dig into that a second longer. So as an example, if you say no, you move past it, you don't even know it's there. But if someone says, well, yes, I've been diagnosed with diabetes, we'll go, great. Tell us a little bit more about that. Is it type 1 or type 2 in medical terms? And then we'll ask them a few more questions. What the tool is doing is driving to the root cause. It's driving to the why. Let me break that down a bit more. If someone has what we call diabetes, and I'm just going to go with mostly type 2 because that's a easily recognizable thing. In our world, we look at that as a blood sugar imbalance. And we say, okay, this could be coming from one of two ways. We're familiar with the term insulin resistance, and that could be that there's something blocking the cell from receiving the insulin, and that's what's causing this imbalance in the blood. Well, we know what's causing that block. Very often block insulin from getting into the cell. And so the tool will basically say, hey, we know your zip code. It could be arsenic in the water. We've asked a little bit about your diet. Could be from chicken. It could be rice. And what's really funny about this is most people, when they're diagnosed with diabetes, they go on a diet. And what do? They drink a lot of water, eat chicken and rice and broccoli. And literally, those are the things where arsenic is highest: water, chicken, and rice. So our tool will basically identify if you're insulin resistant. Hey, let's educate you. Here's where to buy healthier rice that does not have arsenic or has a way lower arsenic content. Here's how to judge where your chicken is higher quality, arsenic free, etc. By the way, here's a $5 water filter you can put on your shower head or on your sink to make sure that your water is filtered and that not only arsenic, but pharmaceuticals are filtered out, all the other chemicals, the phenols, everything is out of your water, and you're getting clean, fresh, healthy water. I think one of the most fascinating things once I started using a water filter is the glass of water I'd leave beside my bed at night still tasted amazing if I left it overnight. Whereas those of you who have seen water oxidize and get all bubbly, like little bubbles on the outside of the glass or on the inside of the glass, and you taste it in the morning and it tastes funny, those are chemicals that are coming out of the water that are off-gassing. And that is not a good thing to consume. So I've digressed a little. But anyway, there's a little example about insulin-resistant diabetes. On the flip side, if your pancreas is no longer working and not producing enough insulin, that's an entirely different toxin. And the tool will identify that toxin and educate on how to remove that one. It's fascinating how Western medicine treats blood sugar imbalances almost all the same, but the Genexy Health tool will identify where blood's coming from and will tell you exactly how to reverse it and move past it. So anyway, that's an example of a smart pop-up and what the tool does. We also will have at the end of the assessment, smart questions, and you can answer as many or as few as you want to dig deeper into any other health conditions or how to optimize your health even more. And every time I look at those questions, they change. They're always different for each individual. And I learn something every single time. If I'm looking over someone else's shoulder, I'm like, wow, I've never seen that question before. How fascinating. Simple things like, do you have a diagonal crease in your earlobe? Or do you yawn a lot during the day right before a migraine headache comes on? I mean, fascinating correlations that most people go, I had no idea that was a trigger, that my body was trying to tell me something. So it's super fun. I geek out time, as you can tell. Things that our treatment plan provides, of course, is what you're doing right and maybe things you could do better. Vitamins, possible allergens, toxin locations, how to remove them, pharmaceutical contraindications, all the things. And we just continue to add more and more all the time. I will tell you that there are things I want to add. I can't wait to add to it very soon, but man, just step by step, it just keeps getting better. Even over the last 6 months, the tools that we've added just keeps getting better. And one of those that we are in the process of finishing up right now, so you guys that are on this call get to be one of the first to know about it. It's the Genexy Health Genie. The Genie, what we did is we partnered with another company, you know how we all have like health trackers, Fitbits and Apple Watch and all these sort of things on our phone and the Aura Ring. And then we've got other apps like MyFitnessPal and whatnot that we're tracking our food and our macros. Well, we put all of that in one big portal so that we could have access to all of those trackers. I shouldn't say we, that's not me. So you guys can have access to those trackers and see them side by side. It's mind-blowing how obvious things become when you're able to do that. So as an example, if you're tracking macros and maybe your sleep, you'll see like, oh, look, my macros were out of whack and I slept horribly the next night. Or if you're tracking anxiety levels and food composition, or if you're looking at, Fitbit activity levels and the Aura Ring. When you start being able to put these trackers graphs side by side, and by the way, you can also track blood tests year over year over year. So maybe something's still in range, but it is starting to trend out of range. Being able to see that visually makes such a difference. And the one other thing that we did is Genexy Health Genie gives you a health score and a metabolic score. And our goal is health visible, so that if you can attach a number to it or understand something a little deeper, it becomes more palpable and easier to control. As an example, most of the time people are like, oh, how do you feel? Even if you go to talk to a doctor, I feel better or I feel worse. What does that mean, right? It's so nebulous. So our goal is to make it very visible, make it palpable, and make it easier to understand that you're moving in the right direction, not just from a blood test perspective, but your assessment, your health score, your metabolic score, reduction of toxins. All of this comes together to make a better health experience. So that is, I can't even say in a nutshell, that is Health Genie and Genexy, and obviously very, very excited to share that with all of you guys here today, and super happy to answer any questions or even do a quick demo if you would like.
I think you answered it, but I just want to make sure it's clear to everybody that this is not a doctor to doctor thing. This is Genexy and the Health Genie. That is for you. That's for the patient. That's for the general public that to use. Because I know somebody had asked that. Is iPhone 2, it's not a name on there. I want to make sure I ask it. Where is it? Anyway, I asked, is this for us or is it just for doctors?
Yeah, great question. This tool is meant for the individual. So we provide it as an employee benefits tool for employers, but our whole goal is just to provide it for that individual. The funny thing about that is once we added on this kind of like records tool, the Genie, where you can put in your health trackers, you can put in your health history, your blood work, like this is your electronic health record. Once we added that, we had a line of doctors start to come to us and go, this is the most powerful patient management tool I've ever seen. So now we are so happy to be partnering with many doctors, functional medicine, integrative, all sorts of practitioners that say, I want to use this as a foundation of my practice because the faster I can get to the root cause, the quicker I can get my patients healed, get them back on track, and make sure that we're scientifically doing all that we can to make them feel better.
I mean, what I see is you've done all the work, essentially, putting this together. Because I had, this was probably 10, 15 years ago, like how to measure people's lifestyle or measure their health. I called it the total health index, and just listing out all the different things that, you know, nutritionally, physically, emotionally, like the things that we do, our activities that we do throughout the day, or injuries that we've had or diseases that we've, you know, had, but that's the disease is actually a measure of what the lifestyle is, and having them rank essentially like 1 through 5, how would they would rate, you know, I exercise 3 times a week, or like, or I'm sorry, like, okay, I exercise 3 times a week using this. Okay, that's a 5, or however that system was. I never fully set it up. But when we first went over this a couple of months ago, you and I, that's what I thought of. Like, she did it. Like she put this together for me. So yes, I mean, and with the, you know, the assessment, like where they fill out, you know, the 15-minute assessment, does that also measure like, because I know you have like the zip codes, so you have like environment and toxins that are common in that area. Yeah. Are they also saying like their exercise levels, their nutrition habits, and those types of things?
Yep, absolutely. We're asking like, do you follow a particular diet plan, like a keto or Atkins or Mediterranean? Or it also asks, you know, how much fiber are you taking, how, you know, or consuming on a daily basis? How much fish do you eat in a week? How many alcoholic beverages do you drink? So yeah, we're kind of asking both of those, and it's sort of the same question, but at 2 different angles to give us a better idea of what their general lifestyle and eating habits are like. Okay. And it also tells us kind of, you know, where are they at from a nutritional perspective.
Beautiful. All right. I mean, I think, so I see you put healthgenie.solutions in there.
I did. Actually, a website that I created for users today that just describes what the Health Genie is all about. Like I said, this is brand new. We just put this whole tracker system together. It's just an incredible approach. This is where folks can go to sign up. And I also gave people that are on this call today and anyone that listens to the recording, I think between now and the end of the year, discount. So what for all of the assessment, the recommendations, the entire online health record, the tool, access to blood work, access to the DNA testing, all that's available in the portal in the Health Genie. And we normally, it's about $200 per year for all of that, less than one doctor's visit cost for like your primary care physician. So
yes, that was another reason. Like, again, when we talked a couple of months ago and you told me what, as you were going through it, and I don't know if you, because I know you said if we had time to do like a demonstration, I would love for you to do that so people have a visual of what this is. But as she's going through it, I'm like, this has got to be, you know, hundreds of dollars a month for this info. And when she said 197 or 199, whatever it was, I was in my head thinking that's a month, which I even thought, okay, that's pretty good. And then she said it was a year. I'm like, what? Less than $200 a year for all of this. So anyway, that blew my mind. So again, why I wanted you to come on here and show us.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I really am passionate about making it accessible and not financially difficult. It's funny because, yeah, there's some other companies out there that are starting one angle, like they'll give you access to blood work or maybe, one doctor's visit, and they're charging, I think last one I saw was like $300 a month. And there's another one that's like $500 a month. And I'm just like, the problem is healthcare is too expensive already. If we don't make it accessible, then people will continue to go down this path of not being able to address their concerns. So my hope is to be able to keep the cost down and make it accessible for everyone. Oh, the link's not working. All right. Thank you. Good feedback. Let me try to just copy. Possible that I copied the link wrong.
Did Joe set this up for you?
Yes, he did.
I think because he's, set up part of like the BYOG party when we first started that, the replay page, and he said it like HTTPS. If it's a new link, then it won't show up because it's not secure yet, but it takes like 24 hours for it to do that. So I don't to show up as secure. So I'm not sure if that's what happened.
Yeah, the links, but I think I put in the chat, I left off the HTTPS, but for folks, if you don't mind checking that out, tell me if that works. I show it secure on my side.
Okay.
But we'll okay, good. Yay. Thanks, Kayla. Appreciate that.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Yep. It worked for me.
Good.
So everybody watching the recording, I'll have it in the links for everybody to click on or on the page for everybody to click on. Okay, cool.
Yeah, great. And then if they do decide to purchase, I also put in there the ability, like if they just want to get the $150 blood test and add it on, you can do that at the order page when you're checking out. You don't have to, I'm a real hard salesperson. Can you tell? If you have blood work already, great. You can upload it into the tool. If you don't have blood work and you want to purchase it and kind of get your baseline and figure out where you're at right now, maybe start to get to a deeper cause, you can do that. And the other nice part is all throughout the year, we continue to just drip on people and, provide some education and some tools and some just fun facts. It's little things that clearly this group is all about. Bring your own guarantee, bringing your best health to the table. And I bet most people on this call are the ones that their coworkers and their friends and family come to them and ask them questions. So, I love to provide people like that, more education, more tools, just quick little tidbits about how can you be healthier, what sort of things might be impacting it, and not buy this new cool tool from the middle of the Amazon that will cure everything. I get so tired of that kind of stuff. So
I agree, like it's not, again, it's healthy living practices, not one-time practice or one practice. We have to, especially in the world that we live in and the environments that we expose ourselves to. Unfortunately, I don't want to sugarcoat it. You can't just do one thing. You can't just exercise and not eat healthy. You can't just take care of your spine and not exercise. You can't just journal and have great faith practices and not do something physical. So yeah. I love it. So yeah, if you could show how it works, that'd be great.
You bet.
It's like everybody's sold on it just with what we've done, but I want to even close it, showing the amazing and how it all works.
You bet. So
without overwhelming them. We don't want to overwhelm. We don't like that.
No, I agree. So let's see. All right. So you can see this. This is a glimpse into the Genexy screen. You can see, and this is a demo person that clearly already answered all the questions, but we use this demo person a lot. So this is their current health score. And I'll tell you honestly, it's because, I'm usually going through here, giving them a heart attack, giving them diabetes all the time. So we can show the pop-up questions. But this kind of gives you an idea. So there's only 5 pages of questions. The demographics is the very first page that just asks your zip code, birth date, height, weight, and nationality. And then from there, just, basic stuff. It'll start off, do you smoke? Do you get less sunlight? What's your alcohol? What's your resistance and flexibility like? And by the way, this will take a little bit, when I'm presenting with video, this always takes a little bit of time to render. So, and we are actually changing that. We're taking this interactive piece out so that the questions could run a little bit faster, just so people know in the new Genie environment, it'll be slightly different. Still the same tech, just like the experience. So you can kind of see, just, ask a little bit more about lifestyle and food. This is helpful because, we know if someone is on an Atkins diet, it means it's very high animal protein, high fat, 0 fruit, and a little bit lower on vegetables and carbs, or really zero-ish carbs. So like the tool kind of knows that's about what their diet is like. So that's why we ask this question. Someone can skip it and then just go straight down here and give a little bit more detail. But all throughout this little person over here is interactive. You can click on, what's going on with my cardiovascular system. Why does it say there's a dysfunction? It'll talk about underlying physiological causes. So if there are any doctors in the room, you can go down a rabbit hole. It's really, really deep and very interactive. But like I said, we're making this a little bit cleaner in the Health Genie. So it's just right down the line of the question. We'll start giving all the answers. This page is if you have labs that you want to input, or if you want to purchase them. The labs page is actually really, really helpful you can just say, oh, my last lab report was within the last 90 days. And we did A1C, we did my lipids score, my cholesterol. Great, you could just put that in there. Same thing with genomics if you want to purchase, or if you want 23andMe data, you've already got it. We can take that raw data and parse it into the system, update your health score, and also definitely update the recommendations. For those folks who have a medication, it's all just, if you can spell it and it's in there, whether it's the generic or the name brand, that's kind of gives you an example. And then the AI questions is the fun, ever-changing, ever-evolving sort of approach to let's dig in, let's figure out the root cause of whatever is going on. Some of these you go, I have no idea if I've ever had a blood test showing elevated levels of PCB, blah, 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 whatever. Yeah, just click on it. Everything's clickable. Everything will dig a little bit deeper and provide definitions. So this in particular is polychlorinated bisphenols. I'm actually doing a podcast tomorrow with the author of the book that talks about environmental toxins. He wrote both the textbook and he travels around the world educating physicians. He also wrote the handbook and the consumer version as well. So brilliant guy. His technology is built into this, like his thoughts, his foundation. So literally the physician that wrote the textbook and the medical book for that. So it talks a little bit about where it's found, where the PCBs are. What's really nice, you can read on this if you want, but if the tool deems, it's probably PCBs that are impacting you, it will show up. It will give you that advice on here's where it's located, here's how to get it detoxed out of your body, here's how to avoid it, here's the half-life. The good news is about most environmental toxins, they're pretty easy to get rid of and get out of your system fairly quickly. The other thing I was going to show you is this screen. Let's see if I can switch it over to this one. Stop and reshare this one. So this is, like I said, you guys are one of the first groups that gets to see the Health Genie and all these other really amazing tools come into play. And so I'm going to show you what that will look like. This is your own personal electronic health record. And this is an example, Barry Berkman, obviously that actor is not Barry Berkman, but you can put in height, weight, age, date of birth, contact information. But then if you're taking any supplements or medications upon rising, breakfast, whatever, I will say anything that I have to take like a second time of the day, if I'm supposed to take something with dinner, I always forget. It's terrible. So you can now actually create a reminder for yourself. This little plus button, make it a text, make it an email. It's so delightful. Pops up on my phone and like right around my usual dinner time, it'll go, hey, don't forget to take, blah, 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 blah. Perfect. So helpful when you're trying to create new habits and whatnot. It might be that you want to remind yourself to take a walk after dinner, or you want to implement a breathing exercise or journaling, anything you want to add into your life. It's just a great tool to help with your health. And then you can see the Fitbit, the Oura Ring, if you're tracking stress levels and levels, ADD, distraction, how did you do for the day on that? Your dietary macro, if you want diet recommendations, you can dig into that a little bit. Down here is notes and communication. Now I am logged in right now as a practitioner, as a physician. So these are more physician level notes on how that works. But what's really nice about this is, if you have your previous doctor records, have them send it to you. You own them. These are yours. If you haven't done it already, any surgery, like if you had your tonsils out when you were 13 years old, contact that hospital and get your records so that you can put this into your tool. If you twisted an ankle, if you had an antibiotic go around when you were in your 20s, try to figure out the date, throw it in here. You would be amazed at what a story that can tell and how clearly health history starts to unfold later on in life. You go, oh, a great example. If there was any period in time that a child was particularly hungry, like maybe kind of undernourished, malnourished, or was starving maybe through a short period of poverty as a child, it shows up in the genetics later on in life. We know that if a grandparent was in the Holocaust, it shows up in our genes 2 generations later today. So, I'm not one to say like, oh, if it's in your genes, you can't get away from it, because that is not true. What we do know is you have absolute ultimate control, and the more you know, the better you can do. So I'm all for like build your own health history, know your own health. You deserve it. It's worth it. Here's a great big huge functional summary. Anything that, from complaints, challenges, goals, client assessment, food sensitivity, even if those food sensitivity testing, like the oats test, the Dutch test, you have access to that inside of the Health Genie. So if that's something that you are curious and you kind of want to try it, you can now. We are opening the doors for all of that and empowering individuals to get the testing that they want or they're curious about without having to jump through a million different hoops to get there. Down here is lab results that also will be graphed inside of here. I'm just not taking the time to show you all of that. Any supplement protocols that you're currently on, or if you're working with a physician on. By the way, invoices is not a thing inside of our system. We don't charge you. We don't bill you. It's not a thing. So don't have to worry about that. And then programs. We like to do fun things like, hey, January is here. Let's try a clean eating or a 28-day, different health challenge. Maybe in February, we're going to, make sure that AFib is a huge deal right now for so many people. It's so simple to fix. It's unbelievable. It just breaks my heart how many people are battling with this right now. And my parents just lost a dear friend of theirs from AFib. And they have another friend that just got diagnosed with it. And I'm like, it's so simple. It's unbelievable. So February, Heart Health Month, we're going to be talking about how to help the heart be healthier and keep all the nutrients and everything in balance. So just kind of fun stuff like that for our community and folks that are in here. And then we have other assessments that if someone wants to take, they can, but really this is a lot of what we integrate with other physicians as well. So just really fun, interesting tools that we want to bring to all of our folks, all of our users, and make health visible and make it really accessible.
So basically what you showed there on the Genexy Health part of it and then the Health Genie part of it, with that link, they're able to get both of those.
Yep, that's correct. Yep.
All right, that's what I thought. I wanted to confirm that that's what it was. Beautiful. Man, this is exactly what I wanted everybody to see, both live and then obviously if you're watching the recording. I mean, I think because you're out west and I'm in the Midwest, there was some like glitches, but they weren't, at least on my end. I know a couple of people had said something that cut out a couple of times that maybe they didn't get the information, but I got the info. Hopefully everybody else did. If not, then obviously reach out to me. And if there's something that just didn't convey, then let me know. I see somebody just joined us. Hopefully they didn't get the time off, but if so, we're actually going to wrap up. And,
awesome.
I mean, this has been amazing, Pamela. I appreciate it. Any final words that you want to share with everybody?
Yeah, I'm accessible. I'm happy to help if anyone has any questions or, honestly, if they have either an employer that they want to introduce to this and talk about how we can help them lower their healthcare costs. I greatly appreciate that because it's so near and dear to my heart. If you have any other practitioners that might be able to benefit from this tool, we'd love to support them and help them in their quest for, accurate information and adding that science to the art of what they do. And for anyone who just wants more information about their health, we're so happy to be a part of it. We're going to continue to add more science and new things to this. So happy to have all of you along for this journey. And I so appreciate the time to celebrate and party with you all today. It's been easy.
Oh, thanks again. And I want to reiterate, don't be overwhelmed by this. You take one step at a time. That's why I have these parties, just to help you take these next steps to take care of and be your own guarantee for your health, for your life, for your own health care. Pamela shared with us beautifully what she's seen and how she's put tools in place for us to take care of our own health. So again, Pamela, thank you. Thank you all BYOGers for being here, and definitely watch the replay. And I'm excited for this new technology. Man, holy cow.
Right. The future looks bright and we're keeping it as exciting and real as possible.
Thank you.